What up, everybody? Welcome to Keeping It 9450, Codename WBB. I'm your host, Daniel Artest. Got my co-host with me, and if you watch it on YouTube, you get your video consumption from. Got my guys from the Hoodie and The Headband, Bryce and Tariq brothers. What's going on? How y'all doing?
What is going on, Daniel and K.dot? How y'all doing? Pleasure to have you guys on. Have you guys have us on your show?
Yes, sir. Of course, it's a blessing, man. Blessing to have y'all on. We love what y'all do, and we always basically in the same circles covering women's basketball. So it was just like, hey, let's make it happen. Let's do a show. We were supposed to record yesterday, but I'm 40 years old, so my back was like, yeah, you 40. So we're not going to cooperate today. We got to push it back 24 and stuff. But Tariq, what's going on with you, brother?
Not much. Just watching the games. Put an article through. So
Yeah. K.dot, what's popping with you? What's going on?
Hey, yo, you know what it is. What up? What it is? What's popping? Everything's all good over here. I'm glad to have Bryce and Tariq on the Hoodie and The Headband. Always great content. I respect what you guys are doing, and there's going to be some magic tonight. How we talk basketball. I'm ready to get it popping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Before we start, I don't know. Y'all didn't see it yet, but I saw it about 5 minutes before I started this podcast. The woman from Iona University, started off the game with 15 threes in a row.
I just saw it.
Yeah.
Just
No, that's crazy. 15.
15 for 15.
Oh, my goodness.
15.
15 for 15.
Come
on.
Crazy.
No, that's a quick 45. That's crazy.
Quick 45. That's insane right there. That's insane. But yeah, let's just dive in real quick. Like, y'all got the Hoodie and the Headband. Y'all part of the Multiplicity Media Group and everything. What was the idea behind y'all podcast and everything?
You want to start? You want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
So me and Tariq, we met back in high school, freshman year of high school. So we met in high school in gym class, first period. So like our first class ever, basically. What was that second period? I feel like that was second period. Oh, it was early in the day. I know it was early.
It wasn't first class. I know that.
Yeah. So I'll be like one of our first classes in high school ever. Met this guy. He was new to the area, but no, he was just a cool dude off rip. One of my closest friends back then, one of my closest friends now. We used to spend hours just like after he moved, we used to spend hours on FaceTime talking about different things of hoops. And he was like, let's start a podcast, bro. But then COVID.
Years. We didn't like actually get into it until
it was like COVID happened. Cause see, I got a mic because I was enrolled in a class for podcast class. But like COVID happened and nobody was really seeing whatever. And then Tariq moved again. So I was like, all right, we got to put this on hold, whatever. We got to find out some way to do this. But luckily, Locker Room came out. Those who know Locker Room, they know. A lot of people started off on Locker Room. So yeah, we started off with a W show first. Tariq and Bryce's WNBA show.
Yep.
Where we did that weekly on Locker Room for a while. And then Locker Room became Spotify Green Room, which is now Spotify Live. And we kept things on there for a while. Then moved on to another app, Halftime. And then we just really started doing things on our own now. But yeah, shout out to Multiplicity Media. Those guys have been a good help, big help, getting our name out there, promoting us on their platform, and just supporting us in general. We write for them now. A lot of our content is on there. And yeah, now we got what we got now, the Hoodie and the Headband, because we did still want to talk about women's basketball and stuff, but we know basketball is year round. And so we just didn't want to be like, I don't want to say kept in a bubble. It's just, we just want to be multidimensional. We want to talk about, all right, talk about high school, talk about college, talk about pros, what's going on overseas a little bit. So transferring from Tariq and Bryce's WNBA show to the Hoodie and the Headband was for us to put everything under one umbrella.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. So yeah, me and K.dot, we did a show on Clubhouse before, random show, and it was so good that we had to continue this. It was just dope. And once like the media people from the WNBA just came in there one day, and then all of a sudden Katie Smith came through. And when Katie Smith came through, I was like, all right, that probably solidified me and K.dot. We was on the phone all night talking, oh my God, your Clubhouse. Now, all right, we got to do a show and stuff. So we started off as a WNBA show first, but then we just didn't want to just cover just the WNBA. So we just decided to just change the name, keep it 9450. And just here we are now. Let's just talk about real quick the big trade, the recent big trade with Jonquel Jones going to the Liberty. We know all other moving parts, but obviously Jonquel's the biggest name right now, moving from Connecticut to New York City. Hey, you're joining the Liberty. What's your thoughts on that right there? What's your thoughts on that move?
First thing I thought of was going even back to whenever Kurt Miller left the Sun and went to the Liberty. I don't know, me and Sweet talk about this on our show about, yeah, Connecticut's going to blow it up. They've gotten close to the finals year after year. They're definitely changing something up this year. That team is definitely going to look different next year than it did this previous year. Yeah, so yeah, it started with Kurt Miller, and it was like, all right, so what pieces are going to move now? And I was a little surprised that they moved Jonquel of all pieces. She was a former MVP with the Sun, and she was really a big focal point of their offense for a while. But last year, we saw her usage rate go down a little bit with AT being back and her AT getting a lot of the touches. So it makes sense because they didn't really use her a lot last year, or not as much as they did the year prior. But and the move is big for New York. They get a former MVP, one of the better players in the league. I think Jonquel is probably top 3, top 5 at least in the league. So that's pretty big for them. Just the duo of Jonquel and Sabrina is really going to be something fun to watch in New York this year. I really want to see what else they do. I feel like they might make another move or two. But like the team they do have around them, around Jonquel and around Sabrina, is just pretty good already. And you got Benaja Laney still. You got Dee Richards. You got Reen Johannes, which is one of my favorite players in the league at the moment. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting to see what the Liberty do this season with Jonquel now.
Yo, K.dot, when we did the show, we was talking about the trade. We forgot to realize to talk about, yo, how the hell they just get Jonquel Jones without giving up Benaja Laney? Like, at least that's supposed to be the minimum. Like, I think that they just was just trying to get rid of, just get it off. Like, it seemed like Jonquel was a throw-in. Because I'm like, if I'm trading Jonquel Jones, former MVP, double threat, inside outside threat, some like even Hang Shu, somebody else got to come over there. Like much of Natasha Howard, of course, obviously great player. Crystal Dangerfield, good young player too as well. But I'm just talking about the get back for Connecticut. Would think that, hey, I would at least figure something out in this deal, or they should have did a combination of like a bigger 3-team trade involving, which we're going to talk to about later with Alicia Gray. At least like that's the type of trade that should have actually happened. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that from a transaction standpoint, it made sense because, of course, I think the biggest name outside of Jonquel Jones in this particular deal was Natasha Howard.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks that Natasha Howard was the one selected, but when you're making north of $227,000, one of the biggest salaries on the payroll, and you're trying to bring something back, I think that's part of the reason why that name was a part of it. And then once you extend the qualifying offer to Crystal Dangerfield, that kind of makes the money make sense, if that kind of makes sense. And also, they did give up, and I believe they owned the 6th pick as well. So if they own the 6th pick, meaning that they're giving Connecticut back, not necessarily a deep draft this year, but giving back the 6th pick for Jonquel, of a high caliber player like Jonquel Jones, I think that's part of the compensation deal. My biggest thing about this entire deal itself is the idea of Kayla Thornton coming in the mix into New York, giving the structure of how New York was last year. Perimeter defense was definitely an eyesore, and strengthening that up from the perimeter and bringing in Kayla Thornton is going to be something huge. An incredible 3-and-D player, just like we talked about the last game. She had averaged a little under 18 points, 6.5 rebounds, something like that, and that helps this Liberty team. And when you have Benaja Laney, who's coming back from a knee injury, she was out 8 weeks with the left knee injury. She'll be back full strength. Reen Johannes, that's still up in the air because of these commitments. So we don't know if she's going to be back at the start of the season or if she'll come back sometime in June. But I think that with the entire landscape of what that deal was surrounded by, it was pretty obvious that New York was intentional in getting better, being First off, being sub 500 the past 2 seasons, but still making the playoffs, that's nothing to glance over. That's still an accomplishment. And guess what? That's still bonuses. You make the play, you get bonus when you make the playoffs. It was pretty intense as well. So I think just from an overall standpoint, you're absolutely right. To get Jonquel Jones and not give up too much, including Benajelani in that particular deal, which I think Benajelani is one of the big names in any deal that will probably surface moving forward. I think that from that standpoint, it just made sense. Tariq, I want to get your insight if you're good to go now.
Me, like a lot of last season, I was complaining about Jonquel's lack of touches and the lack of spacing, especially with Alyssa Thomas coming back. You could even see it in the playoff series against Chicago the season before, where when she came back, they got really stagnant. Jonquel wasn't playing like the MVP Jonquel. And it's very interesting that she won the MVP while Alyssa Thomas was hurt. And when she came back, she was back to the six woman, like most improved player type role instead of I'm the best player on the team type of role. And then obviously like Bree Jones continued to ascend in her growth as a basketball player. And then DeWanna Bonner is DeWanna Bonner. She's gonna get her shots.
Yep.
So it's a lot of I wouldn't say alphas, but it's a lot of very confident players and players that know who they are. And then you also got players like Natisha Heidemann and Courtney Williams came back into the scene. So there's a lot of players trying to get a lot of shots. They didn't have a real point guard with Jasmine Thomas getting hurt and letting Brianne January go to Seattle and free agency. The whole season was really like, yeah, they were playing good basketball, but they could be playing better. But how? Because it was like a Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons type of situation where it was like she can space the floor, but she also plays very well in the post. And if Alyssa Thomas is not able to stretch the floor, then it's clogged because Bree Jones is in there too. So you got 3 post players in the paint in 2022, and that just really didn't work. So they really had to choose whether or not they wanted to stay with Alyssa Thomas or Jonquel Jones. And it seemed like they were going to pick Alyssa Thomas from the start. And that even Kurt Miller, it seemed like Kurt Miller would rather have Alyssa Thomas. And then they end up firing him, letting him go, and then they still end up choosing Alyssa Thomas. So the front office and I'm assuming Stephanie White signed off on it, and the past coach both chose Alyssa Thomas over Jonquel Jones. So it'll be interesting to see if she's able to make them pay in some sort if they meet in the playoffs or a couple of revenge games this season. See how she reacts to playing them again, because I don't know if there's necessarily bad blood, but I don't think they're the fondest of each other.
Yo, K.dot, didn't I just say something like that? I've been alluding to that all year long because when you got a team and you got 2 stars, y'all supposed to work seamlessly.
Yeah.
And when they're not even in each other's way, because John Crowell's primarily post, but she could also step out. Alyssa Thomas is just setting the table, defending, doing what Alyssa Thomas do. And I knew something was wrong with this team because of how Jonquel Jones slipped a lot. And I was just like, listen, all right, cool. Now I can see if there was 4 players on the team and you got 4 players with the ball. Like you would look at the aces and see the aces would have. If the aces had chemistry issues, you would understand because of the 4 that they got. But it's just 2 players and they're beefing like this. I'm like,
Yeah.
allegedly, I would say allegedly beefing because we don't know. Like something was amiss. And that's how I said it on many a podcast every time. Because I'm like, they're not supposed to be playing bad like that because they look good together, but you could tell something was going on behind the scenes. And I think that they was definitely leaning towards Alyssa Thomas handling it. And that's where they decided to go to. All right, let's stay on Connecticut real quick. I want to discuss more because I even said it and then I had to walk it back that the Connecticut Sun need to rebuild. Once you look at it like, okay, cool, they got rid of Jonquel Jones, and you look at their roster and you're like, okay, they just cored Brianna Jones. They still got Alyssa Thomas, obviously, DeWanna Bonner, and Tisha Heidelman. They still got that. They still got their team. So I just want to ask both of y'all brothers, and Bryce, you can go first. Do you think that the Connecticut Sun can still contend for a championship?
I really would just have to see how they look first before I say that they're contending for a chip. Just see how things are without Jonquel. Because see, they traded Jonquel and they traded Jasmine Thomas as well.
Yeah.
So that's 2 people that were a big part of their team for the past couple of years. Just to see how differently they are, I think I don't know. It's still too early to even try to claim contenders, really. But I feel like if it all works out for them and the pieces do work together, possibility is there. But we got to see this team in action before anything.
All right, what about you, Tariq?
For me, it's just a question of what direction they're trying to go in, because they added young pieces back in a different trade with Nelson Adota and Kiana Smith and Jasmine Walker. So are you going to play those players? Courtney Williams is a free agent. Are you bringing her back? I'm pretty sure Jasmine Thomas and Natisha Heidemann are still getting married at some point. So I'm sure that's a little awkward that they traded her away. For real though, you gotta think like y'all was on the same team for a couple of years. That's how y'all came together. And they was like, yeah, sorry, she got to go to LA. And LA is a nice place now. I'm just saying, LA is a nice place. So Natisha might be like, hey, maybe I want to go to LA too. Who knows? But they bring in Ty Harris, who hopefully finally gets some shine.
Yeah.
South Carolina fans have been calling for her to be a starter in Dallas for years, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I don't necessarily agree with it either. We'll see. Like, I feel like we've seen the best of Natisha Heidemann. Not to say that she's a bad player, but I don't think she gets any better than what she's at right now. So maybe you throw in Ty Harris and see where that goes with her as your point guard. Dejanay Carrington, does she take any leaps? That's going to be one of the big things for them in terms of contending, is if Dejanay Carrington got some type of jump shot. Her defense is always going to be there. Her effort is always going to be there. Her length, her size, her speed is always going to be there. But if she can do anything more on the offensive end, will really help them, because DeWanna Bonner can shoot, but after that, there's not a lot of shooting with Bree Jones and Alyssa Thomas. Heidemann can shoot, but she could be streaky. It really just depends on what type of team they're trying to go into. Are they going to play their young players at all, or are they going to be like some of these other coaches like the Wings who don't play their young players at all? Or it just depends on what they're trying to do, because I feel like you can contend and build up your young players because they'll be coming off the bench and you can give them enough time. But you seen the Aces last year, they didn't do that and they ended up winning a championship. So it just depends on what Stephanie White wants.
Yeah, I agree. And the Connecticut Sun, Connecticut Sun got the 6th pick and the 10th pick for this year's draft. But I think they could get something good out of it. I think the draft is pretty deep this year.
Yeah, some good talent in the draft.
Yeah, some good talent in the draft. So I think Connecticut will be all right. I think they'll be there, I think, when it matters, to be honest. But yeah, I guess going forward, Chicago, depending on what Chicago do, because it looked like Sloop might be up out of there. It might be a wrap. Sloop might be going to New York to help Sabrina Ionescu grow as a point guard, which will help her because Sabrina's dope off the ball. Honestly, if we was asked like right now who's the front runner right now in the East, we don't even know, to be honest.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We don't even know because we don't know what's going on. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Wings. I want to talk about the Dallas Wings. I know that the Dallas Wings like the most hated team in the W.
I love the Wings. I just didn't like their coach.
I feel like they're probably maybe not the most hated, but maybe the most criticized because like they know what talent they have, but they don't know how to utilize it. And I don't mind talking about Dallas for a little while. They're still front court heavy.
I wish a coach can coach Tierra McCowan to be Tierra McCowan. I'll tell you this.
She is
when
overseas.
Tierra McCowan's when she's on her game though, like she's top 3 big. I'm sorry. She a top 3 big when she's on her game. If you just get her the ball in her position like 6 feet and in, she's unstoppable. Think about it. She's like 6'7", like 240 and some change. She's tough down there, but then also they had a lot of shot happy guards too. They got a lot of shot happy guards. They ain't getting the ball down there to her. But we seen how she is though. So hopefully you get a coach. I get it. Basketball is going to more faster, more up pace, and less to like the centers and stuff. It's carrying over to the women's side now. We've seen it, and so it's going to be tough for Tierra. But like when she's on down there and she's engaged, they give her the ball and she's engaged and she's active. She's a load, but they got a lot of things to do. They obviously traded Alicia Gray to the Atlanta Dream, which is to Atlanta, which is a good pick.
That's huge.
But they got the 3rd pick back though, right? Something like that.
So what did the details come out yet for that?
They said is that I seen that is for that 3rd pick in this draft, and
that makes sense.
And a pick in 24 or 25 which if it could go either way with 20, especially if 24 is a good pick. We believe that 24 has 4 number ones.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, me and Tariq was talking about that a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
They have 4 number ones.
And who
24
y'all know who they taking with the number 3 pick this year? Some type of post player. I don't know who yet, but they taking a post player.
You know,
they got what, 5 bigs?
They always take a front court
like
player.
5 bigs on their team, and only like 1 or 2.
And they still gonna be like, "Yo, Charlie Collier could get more minutes this year."
Oh my
Bro,
God!
she got drafted first pick and barely
Bryce
saw
forgot
the
about her a
floor.
couple months ago.
Yo, she played as many minutes as that jersey behind you.
Listen, so to look at Dallas just briefly, and I want to go back to Tierra McGowan because we felt like if you go back to the film and you've seen like what she was able to do in the playoffs in the latter part of the season so that they can secure that 7th seed. No, they were the 6th seed, I believe. If you look at the guards that were starting and actually playing those games, minus Enrique, minus Marina, Harris, and Veronica Burton, they made sure she got the ball in her hands. When she would rebound, outlet, and rim run, all she had to do was turn, seal, and Ty or Veronica Burton would give it to her. And that was the big difference we saw in film, those latter parts of the games when Enrique got hurt. And also, it changed Marina Mabry's game a little bit because now all she had to do was really just space the floor, get her shot off, and allow the offense to be the offense. But it's definitely going to be a difference because, of course, Tierra McGowan is a restricted free agent. We don't know what Dallas is going to do just yet because
they did qualify or
so they did extend the qualifying.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
She got to sign it though, right?
Yeah, she will have to sign it.
Yeah.
When if we're looking at that, we still go back to the issue of they're still front load heavy. Like we got Satu, we got Charlie Collier, we got Awakuye, we got Tierra McGowan. I mean, who else? Natasha Howard.
Izzy Harrison,
Izzy is still possibly that's a whole lot of you only have a power forward in the center position.
That's a whole rotation of bigs.
So what are we doing here? And shout out to Coach Trammell because I really dig Coach Trammell, a defensive mind. I don't know what she's going to do. She's gathered up her staff, which looks pretty good, but that still raises the question on what you're going to do with all of those front court players. Like, how are you going to unload them, especially when you have an all-star coming in via trade? That's the thing. And I haven't even talked about Crystal Dangerfield yet because she did an amazing job with the Liberty last year. Spelled a lot of what Sabrina
struggled,
what she struggled with. So it's good to see that. However, it's still one of those things where you're looking at it and oh my God, 7 front court players. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with all of that?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a crazy rotation of bigs right there.
Yo,
they got a big for every day. That's crazy.
Did you name
That's
a
what I'm saying. We named a walk
back to back.
Free a walk, yo. Free a walk.
Yeah, so Charlie, Awak, Satu,
free Bella.
Tierra.
She was like, I ain't even coming back from overseas.
Bella, right.
Bella was playing good the year before too, and she's great overseas.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yo, let's move on and talk about these draft prospects, man. Yo,
absolutely.
all right. So before we move on, so Bryce and Tariq, me and K.dot, we do this thing called Let's Play Uno, and basically draw 4 as player of the week. Then you got your reverse where we'll talk about a team that's a surprise team or a surprise player or something like that. And then Skip, you just move on to the next subject. Yo, we did that so much with Dallas, yo.
Yeah, Dallas was definitely the recipient of the Skip team.
Yeah. Team, this was like, we know what they can do. That's the funny thing. When they can beat anybody on any given night, and they can lose to anybody. I remember they win. They could win by 25 and then lose by 25.
They're such an interesting team.
It was hard. We were doing power rankings. It was hard to rank them because they would go 3-0 1 week.
Yes.
So we put them at 3, and then the next week they lose to the Fever and the Dream. And so where are we supposed to put y'all? So we leave them in the 7th spot all year.
Yes.
Y'all was either gonna fall back down in here, or y'all was gonna stay right there.
There was
It
a
ended up being a 16 in the playoffs. It was perfect.
6, 7, 8, and 9. That's it. 6, 7, 8, and 9 for me all the time. That's it. I'm not moving y'all up. I'm not giving y'all no love. Y'all gonna have to win the championship.
For real.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how they're gonna do
Satu
that.
has to stay healthy. If Satu healthy, I'll move him up to 1.
Yo, Tariq about to have us lose subscribers.
Strictly basketball.
Oh, I forgot the Liberty got the sister too. I forgot about that. The Liberty, what's her name? Naira Sabali?
Yeah,
And she's definitely probably going to be playing. Hopefully,
sure. That's crazy though, because they got Nazu.
Yeah.
And Steph Dolson.
Look at that. And not to go back to the Liberty, but just think about that right quick from a front court standpoint. That's the depth that they were lacking almost last year because they couldn't rebound to save their lives last year. Now they have it to where they can be eating up rebounds like crazy. So that, again, I got to give kudos to the Liberty for at least thinking about stirring up their roster.
Yeah.
DA knows I was highly critical of the Liberty all last year because of the inconsistencies, and yet still I was looking like a fool because I'm thinking they're not making the playoffs, and they would just look at me like, nah, we making the playoffs. And that's 2 years in a row. I said, nah, I don't see them making the playoffs, and they ended up making the playoffs.
I called out Sabrina, and then she went on the triple-double run. So
but K.dot was
like, oh, you hate Sabrina? I was like, bro, I'm the person that started talking about Sabrina first.
K.dot mostly was critical of Alfie Cunningham.
Don't listen to our show then, because we was definitely hyping her up towards the end of the season.
Who is we? Who is we?
The one that called her a playoff legend.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Listen,
me and Bryce on the same page.
That's it. I see. That's why you're over there. Listen, I love Sophie Cunningham game. Okay. There's some questions. There's some questions about her off-court stuff, like where was she on January 6th? We gotta ask that.
For sure. She was definitely there.
Like definitely where she go
off season.
She can shoot.
But she can shoot.
She can shoot. You did not say that.
Yo, she like Babbitt from Deep. If you caught that. Oh shit. That's going on the rails. Now why the face? K.dot.
Do not edit this part out. Do not edit this part out.
I won't. Ooh. Shit. They say, yo, where was you at on January 6th? Are you serious? Yo, I got the family sleep upstairs. I want to laugh so much louder. I can't. I'm holding this. That was great. That was funny. That was a good one. Yeah, this podcast top 3.
And it's not 3. It's not 3.
Yeah, it's not 3. Yeah, this podcast, yo, this is crazy. Where was you at? Listen, Nico hoop though, son, but we gotta know where was you at? Where was you at? What was you doing? Where was you at?
Be honest, and we rocked.
It's middle of the all season too.
Yep, we rocking with you.
Smack dab in the middle of the all season.
She's never coming on this show. God damn it.
And I said she was a shooter. She can come on our show.
That's cool.
You gonna say that to Sophie Cunningham, bro?
Oh man.
Hey, yeah, this week get some hate. We gonna get something. Hate is views too.
Oh, facts.
Listen, all publicity ain't good publicity, man.
All right. Yo, let's talk about the draft prospects real quick.
Let's talk.
And right before we talk about the draft prospects, I just want to give a quick, for those who will be listening later, at the time of this recording, LSU is currently up 1 on Arkansas right now with 1:30 left. So Arkansas has played them pretty tough. So that's We don't know if they'll have their first loss in the SEC or if LSU can pull
Come
it
on,
off.
Sailor.
So that's crazy. It's crazy to think about, but that's the current score right now.
Come on, Sailor.
So let's talk about these prospects.
Yeah, let's talk about these prospects. You know.
Who's your, besides Aaliyah Boston
And Haley.
who's your favorite?
And Haley as well.
Well, see, that's my favorite, but I see her falling on people's draft boards, and I'm not happy about that.
Nah, listen, let's be real. Let's be very candid, just right quick. You see her dropping on people's draft boards because they are literally going by like a recency bias. They're not looking solely at the actual film and what Haley Jones look like. Haley Jones is hands down number 1 or number 2, to be honest with you. To be quite honest with you, if Aaliyah Boston was not in this draft, Haley Jones was going number 1.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to throw it out there. You look at the film, you look at what she's able to do for Stanford, and that she has a pro game. She had a pro game since her freshman year. And you seen what she was able to do in the national championship year. And she was more of a scorer in that national championship year more than anything. So I'm just saying from that standpoint, it's Aaliyah Boston, then it's Haley Jones, and then you can take your pick moving forward after that. But
after that,
yeah, I think go ahead, DA.
Diamond Miller is there, of course.
Absolutely.
Do everything for it. I like her as a Tamika Catchers light player. Yeah, I think that she can score, she can defend, she play hard, she got a high motor, everything. She could play in big minutes, hit big shots, and play when she's there when it matters and stuff. I do also like big guard vibes. Ashley Owusu.
Yeah.
I like her.
She got to stay healthy, though.
She got to stay healthy. She's got to stay healthy.
She's been struggling with injury since her freshman year. She's hurt
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I know.
I believe she played tonight versus Pitt. She was able to.
She was able to get some. Or was it a wrist? I can't remember.
I want to say it was a wrist injury that she had, but you're absolutely right. If she can stay on the floor, she's definitely a player that you want to at least keep your eye on, because from a prospect standpoint, I mean, she's really good. I also think, and we spoke about this with Mark Schindler, Celeste Taylor out of Duke. Now she struggled tonight.
I love Celeste.
Versus UNC.
Nice. I've seen her in person.
Yeah, but I think that, again, WNBA ready, a 3-and-D type or wing player, if you will, that will definitely, if she were to be drafted to a contender, I think she'll be able to give them early success.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't there wouldn't be too much demand on her. She would just go and do what she got to do and just contribute the best way she knows how. Celeste Taylor definitely is another player that I really like as a prospect.
Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. Do y'all think this, before you go, Bryce, do y'all think this draft is really going to be good, even deep in the draft, like second, third round? I think this draft has a lot of players. I really do. We didn't even say nothing about Maddie Segrist from Villanova yet.
That's who I was going to bring up when it came back to me.
We're on the same side then. Go ahead.
Oh, so Bryce, that group of USC freshmen graduating this year. So of course Leah Boston got Zaya Cook too. So I was looking. I think I saw Letitia Almahair's name on the draft prospect list. So yeah, see where they end up. As K.dot mentioned, Celeste Taylor as well. I feel K.dot said she could be in a position where it's just like she's got to fit in. That's why I feel like a lot of draft prospects are. Like, if you're not like really a top pick, it's looking for someone that can just fit into your system right away and can be an impact or can have some type of impact towards your team.
All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about this free agency that's coming up on Saturday. The W. We got a lot of speculation. Got Stewie name trying to get her to New York. Vandersloot trying to get her to New York too as well.
She can throw it off the backboard for them.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Nah, Tariq, though, what's your thoughts, man, going on with this free agency? What y'all looking forward to? If we don't really do hot takes, but we'll let y'all do hot takes if y'all want to do a hot take. What's your thoughts on this free agency?
Really, I just want to know where Candace is going so I know who my team is.
Respect.
No, you have to respect.
That's my squad.
You have to respect that.
So I need to know if I'm staying with Chicago, if I'm going somewhere else. I want to see where, obviously, Brianna Stewart, but I want to see where some other players go. Brittany Griner is unsigned. I feel like she definitely goes back to Phoenix the way they held her down. But you can't really blame her if she chooses to go somewhere else, because what can you say about it? If she feels comfortable somewhere else, that's her choice. Emma Mieseman, does she wait to see what everybody else does? Nneka Ogwumike, I think she's leaving. I don't know where she's going, but I don't think she goes back to LA.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't think she goes back.
you're gonna have to elaborate on that more. Why do you think that?
I just think there's just been too much organizational pull, like push and pull against and away from winning. And then, so you let Candace Parker go, then you let Chelsea Gray go, and then you're in the middle now. You went and get Cam Bays and tried to make a big splash. That didn't work out. And this is after all the stuff that she said about the Nigerian basketball team. So you force both sisters to like put up with that and be the bigger person, which Nneka is a great person, so she's gonna be professional. But I'm sure deep down I shouldn't have had to do that. This is my franchise.
Yeah,
I won an MVP. I won a championship here. I think at a certain point it just gets to be too much, and you're loyal to a team, but at the same time it's a business, so they're not always gonna be loyal to you. So this is the time where she needs to make a choice of because if she signs, she'll probably be there for the rest of her career. But it just depends on what she's looking for. Is she looking to win? But if she's looking to win, where does she go? Because there's not a lot of space. There's not a lot of teams with like clear clear championship aspirations right now besides the Aces, because almost everybody else's team is nearly all free agents besides Atlanta, Indiana, like the teams that have all young players right now.
yeah.
The contenders, the teams that were competing for the championship last year, besides Vegas and Connecticut, most of their team are free agents. So you got to see does she end up going to Seattle if Brianna Stewart leaves, something like that. Like Jewel Lloyd and Nneka would be nice. I feel like they would.
That's
And then
tough.
if you could get a point guard out there, like I've been seeing Skylar talk about Skylar getting traded. What if Skylar ends up there and there's a Skylar, Joel Lloyd, Nneka? That would be a nice three. But that obviously that I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but if those things are true and she does want to leave, that would be a spot that she could go to where Seattle doesn't have to rebuild right away and Joel Lloyd's not stuck.
Can they talk about that, K.dot? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Of course, looking at the remainder of the whole beginning of free agency, right? Vandersloot has been a name that a lot of people have been talking about for the past week. Rumblings of a possible signing to New York, rumblings even about going back to her home state and playing for Seattle, and the whole idea of if Sloot ends up in Seattle, what happens to Brianna Stewart? Does she stay? Does she still consider New York? What happens if Brianna Stewart goes elsewhere and not just New York? What are the possibilities of Jewel Lloyd being dealt?
Yeah.
That it's so many scenarios that you can think of, and with Nneka Ogwumike and of course Chiney Ogwumike, I feel like with Chiney saying she's going wherever her sister goes, that's like a done deal.
Yeah.
You're not going to get one without the other, to be quite honest, and she has expressed that she still wants to play a few more years. So I think if we can get, I guess for lack of better terms, if we can get hot take-ish, I said this on our last show, and there's some degree of separation. Don't sleep on Brianna Stewart in Phoenix. And the reason why I say that,
I'm pretty sure I said that to. No, I didn't. I said what if Diana Taurasi leaves Phoenix? Never mind.
Gotcha. But just think about it this way. I want to say that her wife is actually from Arizona or like the Phoenix area. She always talked about how Seattle wasn't the best place in the summers. And of course, she had advocated for BG for 200 and was on Twitter 294 straight days just talking about how she was detained in a Russian prison, and just thinking about how they played together in Russia for UMC. You have to think about all of these type of scenarios, and to be honest with you, a lot of people will probably listen to this and they probably wouldn't say that's not hot takeish at all. That could be a real thing. But again, when we're talking about speculation, that's all we can go go for right
Yeah,
now. And
absolutely.
we just have to wait to what Saturday brings, and then wait till February 1st on the full opening of free agency.
I do hope there's some teams that go in the way of rebuilding, so that some of these players that get drafted this year aren't cut before they even have a real chance
I agree.
in the league.
I
Because
agree.
there are so many players every year. The last 4 or 5 years, there's been 7 or 8 players that got cut way before they should have. You got,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
pretty sure
heartbreaking too, bro.
there was like a top 6 pick that got cut either last year or the year before that, and it's like, how? Like, why would you pick them at the 6th pick if you was just going to trade or cut them? But that you do that so that you don't have to pay that money. So you waste that pick so that you don't have to pay the money when the season starts. It's crazy.
Selling
Yeah.
dreams. I don't know, man. They gotta do something about it, bro. I feel like I've said this to Tariq plenty of times. WNBA needs their own form of the G League or something to where like the players with less experience, like rookies, first 3 year players or whatever, they still get that development rather than just sitting out or having to go back overseas and play, whatever the case may be. They still should be involved with the team because we've seen teams get hit with injuries or whatever, and then they get called back up midway through the season. But they've been chilling for that whole season. They've probably been working out, so they're still staying in shape for waiting for their time to come. But at least they can develop, play good. By the time they get called up again, they'll be able to make a difference for your team.
Yeah, Maya Caldwell was one of those players. I'm living proof of that one because she would work out in Charlotte when she wasn't on a roster. She was in Charlotte working out, doing what she had to do. And then when she got the call to go back to Atlanta, she did her thing. And I'm honestly kind of hoping that Atlanta, even with this trade, I'm hoping Atlanta can still bring her back, sign her on,
Me too.
let her be the six woman coming off that bench because she's instant. She's instant productivity.
Absolutely.
Did a great job for
Same
them.
way with Crystal Dangerfield too. That she went to Indiana for 4 games, and then they got Danielle Robinson back, so they had to cut her. And then she went to New York, then they cut her, and then they brought her back again. And it was just like she was like, I didn't know where I was gonna be. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Every other day, she was like, all right, you can either go back overseas, they'll willing to pay you this much money, but if you go, then you can't come back to these teams, and these teams may need you. So it's a really tough like push pull. Even a player like Rebecca Gardner, who finally got a chance and really showed out last year, and if it wasn't for it being weird calling her a rookie all year, she would have had
Yeah.
a better chance in the Rookie of the Year voting. But she played great last year, and she never really got her shot. So there are a lot of players that could thrive in the W and haven't really gotten their shot yet. But there's so few spots that it's hard to be like, yeah, you got to cut this person so this person can make the team. So at a certain point, it just gets tough.
Yeah, that's a good point you made because I said on Twitter today that Arella Goriantas need to be back in the W. She's having an amazing time overseas. It started in FIBA, and she translated that this year. Her and also my homie from Indiana, Stephanie Mavunga, also needs to be back or whatever. So hopefully, it's crazy. They do need to expand though, and they need some more teams. At least expand those roster spots. Go to 15.
Yeah,
Come on, go to 15,
Yeah,
and then
something.
because I'd be like,
expand the roster spots or put
A
forth
practice
more
squad,
effort
something.
towards expanding the league.
yeah,
Like we were supposed to get 2 teams last year, 2 cities announced, whatever last year. Now you push
yeah.
it back to 2025. They testing things out in Toronto now with this preseason game. I feel like Toronto's going to show out. And
Hey, shit, let's talk about it then. Go ahead.
yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So what is it? May 13th, Chicago and
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, Chicago, Minnesota. It's lit. I feel like, from what my understanding is, I feel that Toronto, Canada in general, just love basketball. The way they shot for the Raptors, even in the league, J. Cole was in. Everybody showed out for that. I don't know, probably because there was like a name attached to it, but I know that basketball is pretty big up there, just like it is in the States. And I think this is good for the W to like test things out, go a little international a little bit before fully expanding to Toronto. But Drake, you need to be in attendance, my boy. You was real vocal about wanting the team in Toronto and talking about how you want Liz Cambage, your franchise player. You need to be in attendance.
Yeah,
You and
you
Adonis need to be courtside of that game, May 13th. And if not, I don't want to hear nothing about no expansion from you.
whatever accent you use, because you got like 6 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, just if you want to go to the Jamaican joint, go ahead.
Need to
If you
see
want to
you
go
in
to the London
Mensdom.
joint,
Need
you
to
know
see
what
you in
I'm saying?
Mensdom courtside of the game with the Tings.
Yeah, like one of which Drake is showing up. That's after we get that, and he has to buy the team. Actually, honestly, he's gonna have to be on that ownership group.
Yeah.
He gonna have to. He gonna have to.
Be just as involved.
He's a big name. Just do it. Just do it. I don't trust Drake though, even.
I don't know. I think it was just talk, but
He's just gonna sign.
He have to put his action behind his talk. Not sweater. The hoodie is cool, but that was a trend. The picture with Cam Page was alright, but
yeah.
I don't know. Drake does pay attention to it though. I remember he said, what did he say? He said Taya Cooper a care package in the bubble. I would never forget that. And everybody was like, Drake ain't slick. Because that's what everybody first saw with Taya Cooper, like that video of Taya Cooper. And Taya Cooper pops up with the latest OVO on, and they was like, "Oh, Drake ain't slick."
Yeah, he ain't slick.
Said he pay attention. He ain't paying attention like he's supposed to. He paying attention to what he can.
Pulled up with a Skylar Diggins jersey to the SBs.
Was up there singing.
Yeah, he's up there. Jake different. Jake a different dude when it comes to whatever. That's
he's quite the character.
He's quite the character. Now, but I hope that with Toronto, even expanding, if we expansion into Oakland, the cost of living is crazy out there. Toronto, the cost of living is even crazier, and the WNBA being so cheap without providing these teams with private jets. Yeah. Now they're gonna have to fly international into customs in Toronto. It takes 3 hours to even get out the airport of Toronto. The logistics is gonna be crazy. I think that if they decide to expand there, that private jets have to be an option. It has to be a necessity when you're flying to play against Toronto. Actually, that should be the bare minimum anyway in this league.
I think that's what's holding them back from doing expansion. They don't want to.
You know what it is?
They don't want to work on their travel.
It's not that.
Yeah, bro. Some boy almost took away the liberty because of that.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. This is what it is. So we got Mark Davis and Joe Tsai, 2 owners that are progressive, that want that want to grow the game where they want to play. If they had the opportunity to, they probably would pay millions of dollars to these ladies to play. But we got them other owners though that don't have that, and they just like, hey, we just stuck and we just gonna be stuck. So I think that I just wish that a lot of these other billionaires can make an offer that these owners can't refuse. If it costs $15 million to bring a W team in, shoot, get them owners, get them billionaires together, Steve Ballmer, and give somebody $30 million to get up out of there, change it all up. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take something radical like that because these owners, I mean, they're millionaires, but they're not billionaires. What they do with the NBA and stuff, I think that'd be hard. But back to the game though in Toronto, it's about time. It's about time to have something show the global game and stuff. And I think that it would be big for Toronto for the young girls out there that want to play because it was big when the NBA came. That all of a sudden. You've seen Canadian. Look at how many Canadian basketball players is in here right now. So I think that it would be dope because if they're talking about growing the game, that's a part of it right there too. And getting those little girls out there and helping them. And hopefully they have some workshops or whatever, basketball clinics for girls and stuff like that. That'd be fire. So
I think they do because there's a lot of Canadian players in the league. So I would hope they have like their own camp. Like Natalie Achanwa and Richard Carlson both play for the Lynx, so that'll be good. Play in their home country.
That'd be tough for real.
So we don't know where she's at yet, but she could end up being on the team and also playing overseas or playing in her home country. Yeah, hopefully they do something like that for the kids there for the girls there because that's needed everywhere.
And it's on national TV too, so that's cool. I think it's gonna be a really good game. I hope if they market it, if they sell it, I think that it could be something. That arena gotta be packed. I really hope it's packed.
Yeah,
it has to be packed.
Sure.
For sure. Nah, you said it's gonna be nationally televised.
Yeah, it's gonna be nationally televised.
It better, bro. By the time they it took for them to play a game in Toronto to televise a preseason game.
Yeah.
I was so mad the last 2 years. They
bro, why you buying league pass?
and we seeing clips on Twitter. I'm like, hold on, bro. Y'all ain't even got TV people. They don't even
I'm
have the
seeing
opportunity
phone
to put on
footage, bro.
TV. They like
Yo, they
people were
did
covering
do.
the games, and they was like, no, it's no cameras here. Like it's no.
Yeah.
They
TV cameras.
did do the phone for.
Somebody out there like this.
I'm seeing a
zooming in.
highlight. It was
They
like,
was
oh,
out there
Ryan
doing a
Howard's
huddle,
going off
like
right
it
now.
was high school.
We can't see it.
Yeah.
They was doing a huddle like it was high school football or something. That's crazy.
Not a huddle.
Yo, somebody put that game on Huddle.
Hey, huddle link in the bio.
Oh my god.
If y'all want to watch these preseason games, y'all got to read the bio.
You read the bio. Listen.
Link in bio. Check out my huddle. Check out the W's huddle.
And that just goes back to what
Man,
to
we
what
ain't
we've
getting
always,
no care packages, yo.
that just goes back to what we keep saying, how to grow the game, how to expand the game. Like you have to be smart about your marketing. You have to be smart about all of that. And when you're not smart about that, you're gonna get what we're talking about right now. And we're gonna get these jokes off because come on, we're gonna get them off. If you don't like the jokes, improve what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
And because there's always so much excitement for the W when it gets to April-ish, when training camp starts.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the season's about to start, and you got the whole day of WNBA games, and everybody's excited. But then you have there's the preseason games that aren't televised at all, like not even on League Pass, and then you have the cut day right in the middle of that. So by the time we get to the first day, it's like, how many players just got cut? So you like sad about that, and then you're like, oh yeah, WNBA season starts tomorrow. But yesterday, 13 rookies got cut before they even got a chance to make it in the league, and it's just
that's
hard.
The sad part.
It's a hard balance because because they only have they go from the tournament to the draft to training camp, and then some of them don't even make it through training camp before they get cut, and they got to figure out whether or not they're gonna go coach somewhere, go overseas, or wait until they get an opportunity.
It's yeah. Hey, listen, women's basketball is cutthroat. Oh my goodness. You get cut on the first day. Normally, when you try out, you get at least 3 days. You're getting chopped on the first day. That's crazy.
Getting settled, like you really just moving into a new spot, whatever. Trying to find it really gotta be tough.
That's the thing. Like, if you're a second, third round pick, you just stay in a hotel because you don't know if you're actually gonna make the squad or not.
Yeah, I'm staying.
If you try to get a place, then you got to figure out or I guess I'm living here now. It's hard. And it's not like they get paid a bunch of money to make these decisions either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it was it Alicia Clark that said she lived out a suitcase for majority of the season because she didn't know she was getting cut. I know it's some player that said that. They was like,
could have been.
They lived out their suitcase because they didn't know when they were.
It's like
moving or whatever. They didn't know when they were going to get cut or if they were going to get cut. Being as good as they are, still.
It's like overseas basketball. Like, sure, I lived out of a red duffel bag for 8 years
because waiting on the call.
Just not waiting on the call, just waiting for if I had a bad game or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's cutthroat. That's why I think that all first round players guaranteed, their contract should be guaranteed.
Yeah.
That should be the minimum. You know what it is too? The players took a shitty deal.
They really
when they
did.
wanted
They really did.
They took
the only thing that they got that was good for sure was maternity leave. That was a really good thing they were able to get. And that was a big thing when NECA was going in and doing the deals, but she missed out on a couple of things that they really needed.
But you don't blame them though, because like they really need the money too, because they don't make that much bread, and there's not that many players from all 144 ain't going across the water. And this is why Athletes Unlimited is so important. And
can't wait for that.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have another show. Y'all gotta actually come back on the show when we talk AU. We love AU. We heavy on AU.
AU was fun last year.
AU did everything that the W was supposed to do. Their app was pristine. Yo, they even got merch out right now. They had merch out.
Yeah, they had merch out right away. It was
quick.
It was quick.
Yep.
I was like,
got
man,
me a
we
few
had to
shirts.
wait months for the WNBA stuff.
Yep.
And
got me a few shirts. Got the jersey.
And they respond to the DMs.
Yep, they respond. Yep,
and they respond to the DMs. That's how we was have some shows for them and stuff. But yeah, all right, before we get out of here, we got to talk about Maya Moore, who retired finally. Had an amazing career. I know we see you. Like
my goat.
through high school, college, WNBA, and Olympics, she played, I want to say, 569 games, and she went 491 and 78 in those games.
Amazing.
Yo, listen, like
88% win percentage.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I'm actually y'all thoughts on one favorite Maya Moore moment. I'll go first, and I'll just go back to when she was in high school. I was playing with this team called the Atlanta Vision in the ABA or whatever, just trying to get some game film to get across the water. She was just in high school. She was playing in this gym. It's a big gym, big facility in Sewanee, Georgia, and that was my first introduction to her. And she was a kid though, obviously, and I was just like taking it back to the skill set of her game back then. And I lost touch of her or whatever. And then I finally realized, like, oh snap, that's who she is and stuff. But Maya Moore, her offensive bag is just crazy. And me and K.dot, we said it on the show before, but me and K.dot have a list of players in women's basketball that you can give the ball to, clear it out, and they can give you 30.
Yeah.
Maya Moore's on that list.
Absolutely.
Young DT's on that list.
Yep.
And Chelsea Gray is on that list. And that's where it stops. Current players. Everybody will say Enrique, but I say no.
Nah.
She gonna shoot 30 to get 30.
Not even that.
30, but it'll be 35 shots.
I think that she's a great scorer when she's on and stuff.
For sure.
But like as far as 1-on-1 and get you 30, like we've seen Chelsea Gray have an actual patented move, and that's the step back lead through. We don't see Enrique with an actual patented move that if she uses it 100 times, it works 80% of the time.
I got one player for you.
Who's that?
I add to that, Elena Deladon. I feel like she got to be in there. 50, 40, 90. She can get a bucket anywhere on the court.
All right. Okay. What do you think, K.dot?
That's real interesting that you say that, because now that I'm looking back at it, even with all of the injuries and all of the ailments, like a healthy ED would put you on an island and you couldn't stop her. Like
she can get the ball anywhere. She didn't have a favorite spot. It was wherever.
Former MVP, man.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Really does. If you get a real healthy ED, put her anywhere on the floor, are you stopping it? Nah. I highly doubt it.
I would have loved to play against her as a practice player. I would have loved to go against her, see what that dungeon is like.
Think about it. Elite footwork, high IQ. She can shoot the leather off the ball.
Absolutely.
So, like, how are you defending her?
To me,
I got another one.
She's a mixture of Dirk and KD to me.
I got another one too, because she personally put me on the island for a whole practice when I was practicing with the Fever and stuff.
I know you talking about
Marissa Coleman.
Wow. Okay.
Marissa, listen.
I'm not mad at that at all. I like Marissa.
PG County, stand up, PG County.
Yes, sir.
Yo, Marissa Coleman, I don't know why she didn't get the opportunities like to have the ball in her hand like that, because what I seen, this is how I judge how good a professional woman player is. When I was in Indiana, we had a lot of good ass dudes on the men's practice team. I'm talking about we was good. And how I judged it was how much success a player will have. Because sometimes it would be hard for a guard to have a success against a point guard a male point guard that's 6'4", 220.
Yeah.
Just physical. But I seen Marissa Coleman take dudes her height and weight and just put them in hell, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still be having nightmares about that. She has her and Lynetta Kaiser, yo.
Yeah. And mind you, Marissa Coleman, when she came into the league, she really came into the league to play an actual role. It wasn't like how she really can get buckets. She came in, she knew what she had to do to get the dub, and she did it. And she's going to be forever one of my favorite WNBA players for sure. And shout out to when she won in Maryland too.
Sure. All right, go ahead. All right, before we go, let's get the Maya Moore out the way. Go ahead, K.dot, get your thoughts.
My biggest moment, she always, for me, it's the 48-point career high against the Dream. She was just, she left Earth. You say she left Earth, Kev, but she definitely left Earth that game. And everything that she threw up went in. And I can't imagine, thought we would have seen her play again, but it's just much respect to her, much respect to what she's doing now. And I wish nothing but success for her in the future. Congratulations on your retirement. And hopefully you'll, in addition to what you're doing for social justice, come back and give us something basketball related.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, when I think of Maya Moore, I obviously think of when I was introduced to Maya Moore, whenever I was getting more into women's basketball and seeing her at UConn, that historic win that she had. I believe she was part of one of those 100 win teams when they won like 100 straight. Crazy, just unheard of. And then her being in the league, into the league with the Lynx, so being part of that dynasty, being the first woman signed to Jordan. Another thing, that going back to how me and Tariq met, whatever, back in like our high school days. So we had a social studies teacher, right? And he was like, I don't know how we got talking about the WNBA or whatever, but was talking about the WNBA, and he was just like, y'all don't even watch the WNBA, whatever. Said, and I'm like, yeah, I do. He was like, who won the championship last year? I said the Lynx, and Maya Moore was MVP. And then Tariq had him the next period, and Tariq was like, basically the same thing. And then we talked about it the next day, and Jimmy, I was like, nah, that's crazy. And that's really why I'm like, yeah, no, Tariq, real hoop head, like he really is deep into this. But yeah, no, Maya Moore, one of my favorite players of all time. I ain't gonna lie, I think she has the best case for the GOAT, in my opinion. Yeah,
That's definitely arguable for real.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna sit here and say that's asinine. That's definitely arguable. A lot of people have Maya Moore as their GOAT, so that's definitely something that we're definitely going to table it. To be honest with you, we will dig deeper into that conversation on our next show that we all collab with. So because we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it because I need to hear y'all top 5, but that'll be for the next show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, finish us out. Take what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely watching her and Tina at UConn and Tiffany Hayes. They were really. I had already been introduced to women's college basketball. Bria Hartley as well. She was also on those teams. Steph Dolson too. There's a lot of players.
Dang, that's that good.
Yeah. Renee Montgomery.
Yeah. I could keep on going, and they just could be like, yeah.
Dang.
But yeah, just really, I'd already been introduced to women's college basketball through Candace, and that was really where I started. But I didn't have an actual team because by the time I ran into Candace or learned about Candace, she was going into the league and going to the Sparks. Watching Maya Moore and Tina Charles really do their thing is what made me a UConn fan as before I was 10 and stuff like that. So I appreciate her for helping me appreciate the game of women's basketball because a lot of people are like, a lot of dudes do like women's basketball, but they only like a certain player. They don't pay attention to anything else. So I could very well have been like, oh, just Candace Parker, and that's it. And that's the only person I paid attention to. But Maya Moore was the first player that I was like, oh, okay. There's more players than just Candace Parker. There's more players than just Tamika Catchings and Sylvia Fowles and stuff like that. I was like, okay, like obviously, like when you hear about UConn, you were hearing about Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi and Swin Cash and Rebecca Lobo. But I was like, when I think about it, my first thoughts are Maya Moore and Tina Charles. Because Tina Charles was a beast. And I always remember the thing on her forehead because it was very like when she was younger in her college days. And that was like the one thing that I was like, oh, like that was one of the first things that I could recollect when I was seeing her. And then Maya Moore was shooting from everywhere. And I was like, hold on. I was like, that's crazy. And she was wearing 23. And I was like, hold on now. That might be our Michael Jordan. That's our LeBron James. Something. It's got to be one of those. I don't know which one, but it's one of them. And she went to the league and just took over. She was instantly the best player in the league. I know there was always conversation about her and DT. Obviously, I would argue her and Candace. But she was winning championships almost every year. She was in the league 4 out of the 8. She won a championship. And she was in a championship another of the years that she lost in Game 5 to the Sparks. So 5 out of the 8 she was in the championship. I think it might have been 6 out of the 8 actually, because didn't they lose to somebody else other than maybe not. I can't remember. I know they beat Indiana. I feel like
think they beat
somebody
the
else that lost
Dream
it, but
twice.
yeah, I think they
if
beat
I'm
the
not
Dream
mistaken,
twice, and then they came back and beat LA the next
in
year.
2017.
Yeah. So so she went 5 out of 8 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was saying the other night, if she would have come back like after the bubble season, her, Nafisa Collier, and Sylvia Fowles would have been, and Kayla McBride would have been really cool to see together. Obviously, she may not have been the Maya Moore we all know and love in terms of at her prime, but that still would have been really fun to see, just to see her, some of these up and coming young players, because it feels right when she was getting to the precipice of her career, it was when she left, and there were so many young players like Asia Wilson was coming in the league, and Brianna Stewart was coming in the league, and there's so many players that were coming in the league and making a name, and it was like I really wish we could have got to see Maya Moore against them, because obviously Asia Wilson, she looked up to Candace Parker, so she did get to see play her idol, but I'm sure a lot of the players that are coming in the league wish they could have played against Maya Moore, which like a lot of players when they Michael retired, I wish I could have played against him, stuff like that. Definitely happy for her and her family. Hopefully that she finds peace in all of her decisions for the rest of her life, and hopefully she does do something with basketball, whether it's commentary or coaching or just doing like a broadcast or something, just anything, a podcast, something, just so we can hear her talk about basketball, so we don't think that she hated basketball or she hated basketball. Because it was like Kobe. Like when Kobe left, you're like, oh, he's done with basketball. But he was able to find something in coaching his daughter. So maybe she can find something that is not too serious for her, but she finds fun in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. My final thought is, and also just come to WNBA All-Star Weekend and get your flowers like that. Get your send-off, since you don't have a Sylvia Fowles type of season. Just coming in, just get your ovation. You know, at least that much. Don't just ride off into the sunset like that. But yeah, I just want to thank y'all for coming on to the show and stuff. You can Bryce, Hoodie and The Headband. I actually like that name. Is fire. Sounds like I showing love to Carmelo Anthony both ways.
That's where the hoodie came from. That's when the Melo started wearing the hoodies outside on the beach and stuff. I was freshman year of college, and I was every time I would go to the gym, I'd have my hoodie on.
Yeah.
They started calling me Hoodie, and I was like, all right, cool. So I just stuck with it. I always wore hoodies anyway, so it was like, it makes sense. So when we were thinking of a new name, I was like, hey, we got to incorporate something of us without just putting our names in there.
Yeah. Facts.
And it just worked out perfectly.
Because I always wear a headband. I got plenty of headbands. I remember wearing headbands when I was younger. I remember trying out for the ball team. Like, was it freshman year? I had my headband on, and the returner, the star player, was just like, no headbands. I was like, all right, put it in my pocket, never brought it back out, only wore it during the summer.
It's funny.
Because my coach's thing was like, yo, we all are together, we're all one. Like, we all had the same pair of Team Jordans. We all had the same pair of Team Jordans. We had no accessories, no arm sleeves, no headbands. Only if you had dreads, though. If you had like hair, then he would allow it. But other than that, it was just everybody looking the same. We were a team. We was one.
They can't stand coaches like that, to be honest. Listen, I'm gonna wear my socks because I don't know. Coaches is weird sometimes. Do all that and then lose by 30. No.
Or only play like 6 players.
Yeah, exactly.
So we all won, but not everybody get to play. So we not all won.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, but let everybody know. Hey, start with Tariq. Let everybody know where they can follow y'all at.
You can follow me on TikTok at Hoodie Q-Tip. I ain't posting on there currently, but I will try soon. Follow me on Twitter at _Swish with 2 H's _3. That's really what I'm active on the most is Twitter. I've been looking less at other people's stuff because, it can be mentally draining. Sometimes people just be saying stupid shit.
Yeah.
I be trying not to like engage. And I'm just like, people just be way too negative. And they're supposed to love sports, but all they do is live for the negative, and I don't understand it. But yeah, y'all can follow me, follow us, follow our page, the H&H Show on Twitter as well, and follow Multiplicity Media on YouTube. And that's where our podcasts are, besides Apple Music and Spotify.
All right, go ahead, Bryce.
Yeah, if you're on the screen, that's my ad for Instagram and not Instagram though. It's my ad for Twitter and TikTok at _ Bryce Warner. Ad for Instagram, same stuff is on Twitter and TikTok. But if you want to follow my Instagram, it's at _ B Warner. We got some pieces coming out on multiplicitymedia.com, so definitely give them a follow. At I think it's their ad is Multiplicity Media MG or Multiplicity MG. Let me look that up real quick to be correct. Let's see.
You're right. Keep it wrong now.
All right, Multiplicity MG at Multiplicity MG on Twitter. They're also on TikTok and Instagram as well. That's where you see our podcast clips. We got one on there today. Funny enough, we was talking about how there might have been a trade going on for the Aces, but we saw that didn't happen because Alicia Gray is now with Atlanta Dream, which is still pretty big. But yeah, see, I got new stuff coming out on my TikTok. Gonna be more consistent with that, so you guys definitely want to tune into those. And you got some more writings to write on Multiplicity Media's website.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all tapping in with us. This was a fun show. This is probably the most fun we ever had on the show. No cap. Like, I think the only time we have fun on the show is when K.dot crashed it. When I had Shavonte Zealous on the show, he crashed it because he's a groupie, not a fan, a groupie.
Shavonte Zealous was nice.
Yeah, facts.
I'm telling you, yo, when DA said Shavonte Zealous was on the show, like, unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually do the show that day. I had some corporate stuff going on, but I was like, I got 5 minutes before this interview, so let me go ahead and see if I can tap in.
Hey, yo, hey, what up?
That's exactly how he came on the show.
But yo, what up, yo?
Yeah, that's exactly how he came on the show and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We're on him. DA, thanks for reaching out, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
I felt it's a long time coming, but I guess it just made sense to do it now. Everything happens for a reason. Everything's lined up the way it's supposed to. But yeah, thank you guys for reaching out to us. Looks like people have been anticipating this episode since we tweeted about it a week ago. So
facts. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't forget to follow 265 Media, D_Artest, K.dot 3H. Also, don't forget to follow the Substack, The Artest Effect. Don't forget to follow K.dot when he posts his chatting on Atlantic. He's with the Nets Republic doing content for them. K.dot over here making it happen and stuff. And we got another thing brewing that's coming our way. That y'all gonna be. Don't worry about it. What this?
Just wait on it.
Just wait
on it. Hey.
We got a bunch of stuff brewing. And also, don't forget to follow Artist Management Group too as well. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. Love is love. Peace.
Peace out.